Good morning to you, viewers. Let's begin what's trending. Senator representing Ogun East, Gbenga Daniel, in a memo that went viral on Thursday, asked that his pension as a former governor of the state be stopped. The senator, who was elected in February to represent Ogun East in the Red Chamber of the 10th National Assembly, in a memo which he posted on Twitter, said good conscience informed his decision to have his monthly payment suspended. Gbenga Daniel, however, stated that apart from the pension, he has not benefited from any welfare package such as medical, transportation, or furniture allowances since he left office in 2011. I am coming straight to you on this story. As you know, we've always been talking about reducing the cost of governance. This is such a refreshing memo that we got. Let me just take a tweet from IPC, who wrote, Senator Gbenga Daniel's decision to suspend his pension and allowances is a commendable one. Senator Daniel's decision is also a good example for other public officials to follow. We use this opportunity to ask you to propose a 50% reduction in the National Assembly budget. Nigeria is drowning in debt because of the high salaries of its public officials. The country cannot afford to continue to borrow to pay these salaries. A reduction in the National Assembly budget would free up resources that could be used to improve the lives of ordinary Nigerians. I have a list of governors that are still in the Senate, ex-governors that are still in the Senate, that are still benefiting from their pension. And, you know, it will be nice to see them follow this step. I know we have a GFX of those governors. One of them is, I'd like to call them out. Yes, we have Godswill Akpabio from Akwa Ibom. We also have Adam Soshomole from Edo State. We have Devu Mahi from Ebonyi State. We have Aminu Tamboa from Sokoto State. We also have Abubakar Sani Bello from Niger State. We have Ibrahim Dankwambo from Gombe State. Abdulaziz Yari, very top official, we should have him. Also follow Gbenga Daniel's footstep. We also have Aliyu Wamako from Sokoto State, Orji Kalu from Abia State, Ibrahim Gideon from Yobe State, and we also have Sariki Dixon from Bayelsa State, and Adamu Aliero from Kebbi State. Danjuma Goje from Gombe State. We should have all of these governors take a cue from Senator Gbenga Daniel.
Yes. So I'm so happy we're starting off the show on such an important note.
Absolutely.
Because this is prime example for other governors. And thank you, Oji, for putting them on the Hall of Fame.
Good journalism.
We should have a wall up somewhere. Maybe we should sponsor some ads, you know, in terms of billboards, just to remind them in case we forget. But great example set by Senator Gbenga Daniel. When you reeled out those names, most of them had spent a minimum of 8 years in the House. So it means that 8 years of collecting pensions while still working and collecting salary and allowance from the House. How much money are they bleeding Nigeria and Nigerians from? That was the honorable thing to do. It is noble. But beyond that is what the IPC have said, and I totally align with that. That this is the first step. We commend it because we must commend, good moves. But the next step, which we're urging, because the reward for good work is what? More work. Is that they go on to the House and trim by 50% their allowances, salaries, if they really want to push that notion that indeed they want to stand for Nigerians and for the vulnerable in Nigeria. What we often say is that the president has called a number of times for us to make sacrifices, the austerity measures. This is a time when we're trying to fix our nation. We need to get our GDP up. We need to, get our debts, service our debts. So many things in terms of the economy. But it's not being reflected, leadership-wise. It's not being reflected in the House. We see our senators whose allowances are still shrouded like it's the state secret. But they often say, oh, we'll get the FOI, get our allowances. What we're asking for them to do is to take the higher road, be honorable. Can you propose a bill to slash salaries and allowances, even if it's a pay cut for a while? That would be what we'll praise from today onwards. But thank you very much, Senator Gbenga Daniel. We look forward to more announcements in the coming days.
Yes, refreshing story. Rufai.
Very good. Kudos to you, Ogidiomo. Otumba Gbenga Danieli.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Ogidiomo, for doing that. I mean, we have to lead the way. Our politicians have to lead the way. You can see when you do well, we say you have done well. When you don't do well, we'll give you awulence. It's as simple as that. Otumba Gbenga Daniel has done well. It is not good in good conscience to be collecting 2 salaries as a senator and still as a governor and all of that. It is not nice. At a time where we are saying cut down the cost. And the other governors that have been mentioned, please, do the needful. You can't eat from 2 pots at the expense of this country and all of that. So, but I think most importantly is for us, and this is a charge to all state legislatures, to be able to review this big pay package we give outgoing governors. Because the problem in the country is the fact that when the governors come in, they wield a lot of influence over the state lawmakers, and anything they tell them, they do for their own benefit. Pretty much because who emerges the speaker is pretty much influenced by the governor. And that's why we keep talking about legislative independence. Speaker of State House of Assembly, we should remember, you are there to serve the people. And anything that is inimical to the growth and the prosperity of the people, you should shun it. So even if the governors bring all sorts to you, you should shun it. And you too should be clean. Because a lot of these speakers cannot fight back because they are not clean. And why they use the EFCC on them, they keep scampering around. So let us lead by examples. I know all of this I'm saying is just idealism. But the truth is we can't keep saying, oh, idealism doesn't work in Nigeria. Because if we keep saying idealism doesn't work in Nigeria, then we'll not have a country. We can't keep making laws to favor those that are high and mighty over others. So please, we should go back and cut wages as much as possible. And a clarion call to revenue mobilization. I like to call them RAMFAC. Please, this is not the time to review upwardly any salaries of any government official. Nigeria is bleeding. It is the time for us even to be able to cut the cost of governance so we can save and do other things with the money. And most importantly, raise revenue for the country. So there's a lot that needs to be done.
Well said. Dr.
There's a historical background to this. In 2019, Zamfara State, the House of Assembly, they had decided to pass a piece of legislation cancelling pensions for former governors. As at that time, Zamfara State had about 3 former governors. And it was gulping over 700 million per annum, or perhaps even more, to maintain governors. That same 2019, SERAP, the NGO, the Social and Economic Rights Accountability Project, decided to go to court to ask for an order of mandamus to compel the Attorney General, Malami SAN, who was Attorney General then, to take action against pension laws by interrogating the legality of state pensions laws, because those state pensions laws had created an avenue to continue to feed fat on the resources of states and the federal government of Nigeria at the expense of ordinary people. In states where they don't pay salaries for 5-6 months or a whole year, where pensioners are not paid, where money is being wasted, then you have a man, because he has been governor, he will be collecting money for life. In some of the laws, on state pensions laws, once you stop being governor, you are entitled to a house in Abuja, you are entitled to a house in any part of Nigeria of your choice. You are given cooks, you are given vehicles, you are given medicals, your vehicles are changed almost on a 6-monthly basis. So it became controversial. And at that time, SERAP was commended for taking that action. And when the matter went to court, Federal High Court, Abuja, presided over by Justice Oluremi Oguntoyinbo, Justice Oguntoyinbo ruled that nobody can be collecting double emoluments, because the specific focus now became those governors who were senators or who were ministers and were still pocketing money from both places out of greed, out of thinking that they've become parasites onto Nigeria, the Nigerian state, just because they served as a governor or they served as anything. So our point is that same old point. The rent collection regime that we have in Nigeria is unacceptable, is unsustainable, and there is a ruling of court that has not been challenged by any of the parasitic former governors, to say that to say that the law must not take its course. What has happened instead is that quite a number of former governors had come forward. I recall Senator Bukola Saraki came forward and said he never collected any double emoluments. BRF, former minister, former governor of Lagos State, Babatunde Raji Fashola, also came forward and said he doesn't collect any money from Lagos State government. You know, since he left, he has not been collecting since he left office. I think Dr. Kayode Fayemi also came forward to say when he was minister, he was not collecting anything from Ekiti State. So there are examples before Senator Daniel. What Senator Daniel has done now, you know, reminds us of the right thing to do. Yes. So it is exemplary. And we hope that all those gluttonous former governors and former senators who may still be collecting double emoluments will follow this good example and moderate their greed. And remember that when you are made governor or minister, the purpose is for you to serve. It's not for you to settle survival problems or challenges of your family from generation to generation.
All right,
I rest my case.
Doctor.